Long before he became a name whispered in horror stories, Victor Frankenstein was simply a boy, driven by an insatiable hunger to understand life itself. That hunger would eventually consume him. Victor grew up in Geneva, Switzerland, in a household defined by warmth and privilege. His father was well off and gentle. His mother poured her affection into everyone around her. It was, by all accounts, an idyllic childhood. When Victor was 5, his family took in an orphaned girl named Elizabeth, who had nowhere else to turn. He adored her instantly, and the two became inseparable, wandering the garden together, sharing books, inventing stories. His mother liked to joke that the two of them were destined to marry one day, and nobody in the family disagreed. Victor also had a close companion in Henry Clerval, a cheerful, energetic boy who loved poetry and tales of adventure. But Victor's temperament ran differently. Even in childhood, he was solemn and endlessly inquisitive, forever chasing the mechanics behind ordinary things. Where other kids played, Victor interrogated the world, pestering his father with questions about rain and starlight. His father's answers, though patient, never satisfied him. He craved deeper explanations. At 13, Victor stumbled across an ancient text in his father's library, penned by a philosopher named Cornelius Agrippa, centuries before. It described hidden natural forces and the possibility of mastering life through secret knowledge. The idea captivated him, and he devoured every similar volume on alchemy and old science he could find. His father dismissed the material as outdated nonsense already disproven by real science. But this only sharpened Victor's determination. He wanted to succeed where those ancient thinkers had failed. A turning point came when Victor was 15. A violent storm rolled through his town, and he watched lightning obliterate an old tree in his yard, splitting it apart in flame right before his eyes. Awestruck by the raw force of it, he later listened to a scientist visiting the family explain the principles of electricity and natural energy. From then on, his fascination shifted away from ancient mysticism toward the concrete sciences, chemistry, biology, and the workings of the human body. At 17, Victor left home to attend university in the German city of Ingolstadt. Shortly before his departure, his mother passed away from an illness she'd contracted while nursing Elizabeth, a painful loss that shadowed his transition into independence. At the university, Victor found a mentor in Professor Waldman, a man who, unlike his father, respected the ambitions of the old alchemists even while acknowledging their flawed methods. Waldman told his students that those early thinkers had chased the same fundamental mysteries that modern science now pursued. His words struck a chord in Victor, who resolved to commit himself entirely to scientific study. He threw himself into laboratory work, day and night, mastering chemistry and anatomy with startling speed, impressing his instructors. But knowledge alone wasn't enough for him. He fixated on one overwhelming question: what actually makes something alive? This obsession led him to dead bodies. He began examining corpses and observing the process of decay in graveyards, work that repulsed most people but thrilled him. Gradually, an audacious idea took root. What if he could uncover the very secret of life and use it to create a living being from scratch? The thought seemed absurd at first, even to him. Yet, the deeper he dug into his research, the more convinced he became that it was achievable. He withdrew entirely, abandoning friendships, ignoring letters from home, Sacrificing sleep, his mind was consumed by a single secret ambition. He resolved to assemble a human body from parts gathered from graveyards and other grim sources, telling himself it was all in service of a noble goal, unlocking the mysteries of death and disease to benefit humanity. In his imagination, his creation would be grateful, almost reverent toward him, and he would spare countless families the grief of losing loved ones forever. "If I can restore life to something dead," he told himself one night in solitude, "imagine the good that could come of it. No parent would have to bury their child again. No family would have to face a final goodbye." For practical reasons, Victor chose to build his creation on a massive scale, nearly 8 feet tall, since larger body parts were easier to handle. He also convinced himself this would produce a stronger, more magnificent being. Picturing a flawless, powerful creature born from his own hands. Nearly 2 years passed as he labored in isolation, holed up in a cramped room at the top of his house, cut off from the rest of student life. He ate little, rarely stepped outside, and his appearance deteriorated. Pale skin, bloodshot eyes from endless sleepless nights, hands trembling from sheer exhaustion. Yet he pressed on relentlessly. He kept his family at bay with letters claiming he was simply absorbed in his studies, never revealing the truth of his work, not even to Henry. He understood that if anyone learned what he was actually doing, they'd believe he'd gone mad. Bit by bit, the body took form on his laboratory table, each piece selected with meticulous care. He reassured himself constantly that his work was significant, a discovery that would transform the world. At last, after 2 years of secretive labor, the construction was finished. It lay motionless on the table, inert, waiting for what came next. Standing over his creation one evening, drained but electric with anticipation, Victor watched storm clouds gather outside. He looked down at the enormous silent form before him and made his decision. Tonight, he would finally attempt to bring it to life.